Я слышал, мне попадался какой-то материал.
I heard that I came across some material, I don't remember whether I printed it or not, that the BlackRock company and the Avangard company had great financial interests in Ukraine in terms of buying land, private land.
Покупки земель, частных земель. И были интересы в покупке земель.
And there were interests in land purchases, there were interests in the development of rare earth metals and all these are all that are not videos for lithium batteries. And there were also interests in buying industrial enterprises. That is, there was a great financial interest. I remember this for sure before the military events. Now the question is, have they already managed to buy something? I do not know what to buy, I do not have such information, I do not follow Ukraine. I mean, well, who except for those reports that now he comes in the general networks, what passes, then and then I read. But what is different is that I am monitoring these financial flows, that is, well, as if these topics are interested. So they had very big interests. Well, despite the fact that the Biden administration had good relations with the Ukrainian establishment in terms of financing his son before that.
Сына и до этого, это правда.
It's true. That is, we will not deny it, it is a fact. Now the question for today, that is, if you switch from Ukraine. Ukraine is just as an example of how Western social networks react to communication with on. So to speak, they react to certain groups of people who are being tried to restrict freedom of speech. Now Ukraine may not be the worst example here, because if we take such a country, for example, well, almost, which is not in the news, let's say Vietnam, right? Everyone remembers Vietnam. So, in Vietnam there is a huge pressure on independent journalism, a huge pressure on independent freedom of speech.
В Вьетнаме существует огромное давление на независимую журналистику.
And when, for example, a company like Facebook, today this meta company entered Vietnam, for some reason, the passwords of all independent journalists who were critical of the Hanoi regime, yes, that is, I don't really understand who is there about and someone who is left, who is right, who is dictator there, who is not. But the fact that all passwords, names, and those who were registered were surrendered directly to the internal services with the internal intelligence services of Vietnam is that.
Но то, что факт того, что все пароли, имена и те, кто был зарегистрирован.
And in the oppositionists who wrote about Vietnam and those oppositionists, even those who were not on the territory of Vietnam, but had been living in the United States for a long time and Facebook handed over their stripes, passwords, turnouts and everything else. This is said only about Vietnam and it became known. And the fact that Facebook perfectly cooperates with other semi-authoritarian regimes, so it's surprising. Look how eco is, I'm not talking about YouTube and everything else there, where they also ban you just for nothing. Allegedly for unverified false information, but in fact it's just enough for certain people of the service to complain and that's it, the channel will be deleted or blocked or something else.
Информацию, но на самом деле просто достаточно определенным людям, определенным службам пожаловаться, и все, там канал удалят, или блокируют, или еще что-то. Ничего нового.
Nothing new. It's good that Twitter has been bought by Elon Musk for now, as if Twitter is more or less there, you can write something more freely. He said he was free, freer. People are deleted anyway and it's clear what and for what and how, I still read a complaint about it. Let's see what happens.
Be aware of what is really happening, and not just what they think it is necessary to tell you. On Twitter, use the opportunity to talk freely about politics without blocking and bans. TwoCats on the Ramble. Subscribe to stay up to date on what's really happening to you. We need your financial assistance to compensate for the costs of producing political broadcasts, Infolenta and authors projects. By supporting an information resource without propaganda and censorship, you are fighting the dominance of politicians who deprive us of freedom of speech and turn our society into silent slaves. Use PayPal, Potion, Coffee, as well as Super Ramble Chat and Twitter.